Welcome back to the homestead. Welcome back inside of our solar/food preparation room. Today we're going to be doing an oil change, our very first, on our Harvest Right Premier pump. Then we're going to talk about how this Harvest Right medium-sized freeze dryer has performed over the last year and if we've had any problems with it. Let's get going. So we have run 30 batches through this freeze dryer over the past year or so, and it is at the top end of the time to change the oil. However, our oil in our pump actually looks very good, and I'll show you that in a minute. For these Harvest Right Premier pumps, you can run between 20 and 30 batches before you need to do one of two things: either filter the oil that's already in it or change the oil completely. And we will talk about that in a minute, but I want to talk about how this thing has performed so far. I get a lot of comments from people to say that theirs is not performing well, but I get way more comments saying that they absolutely love their freeze dryer. I have had one small issue. That issue was resolved very fast by just doing a simple software update to the freeze dryer itself. So what exactly happened? Well, I was running batches of numerous different types of fruit, including melons and apples and strawberries and things like that. They were all cut the proper size, relatively similar in thickness, and obviously some have more water content than others. The last three batches had several items that just would not dry, mainly the melons, okra, and blueberries. But things like apples and onions and potatoes were perfectly dry. And during those cycles, I actually allowed for extra dry time, especially in the case of the melon. The melon got at least an extra 12 hours of dry time, but it just would not dry. All I had to do was call them, and then they emailed me the updated software. I put it on a thumb drive, stuck it in the side, updated the software, no problem. They said that's a really common issue that is alleviated with the software. Other than that, the other issues that we've had are absolutely zero. No vacuum leaks, no pump problems, no computer problems, except for needing the software update. Now let's show you how to change the oil. First, let's show you the oil that we have in it. This is 30 cycles of oil. It is extremely clear, and it is the exact same level as where we filled it over a year ago. We've got our oil drain plug here in the front, and remember, your cold level needs to be halfway, because when this oil heats up, it expands and it'll go all the way to maximum. So after we are done filtering it or putting new oil in, that's the level you want to fill it back to. Your oil pump needs to always remain almost completely flat. Now when you drain it, we will tilt it forward a little bit, and that's okay. But never tilt this thing upside down or on its side or anything else like that, especially when there's oil in it. And remember, your gas ballast must always remain in the open position. This is the oil demister, and it has a filter inside of it, but we are not going to take that apart today. So I mentioned that the oil that comes with the Harvest Right kit are both of these, and these will last you an extremely long period of time. This is 25 ounces and this is 32 ounces. This one is about 75% empty, so it takes roughly about 18 ounces to fill this up, give or take. The filter that comes with it looks like a Brita filter, but I'm sure it has some other type of medium in it that is appropriate for the oil and filtering that out. Now, many people will recommend doing this at the end of a cycle on your freeze dryer. However, for us, we're so busy that's incredibly hard to time. So what we're going to do is run this pump for 1 minute, just plugged into the wall. And that is essentially the same method and the same process of doing it when you initially set up the pump when you get your freeze dryer. However, don't do anything over a minute because that could damage the pump. Remember, there's an on-off switch directly on the back of these. All you need to do is plug it directly into the wall and turn it on. So we let it run for 1 minute, and I'm going to open our oil drain valve right here. You can see the contrast of the color of the oil against the white filter bucket, and it is actually really great looking. The oil when it goes in is clear, but this does not look bad at all. So our stream is pretty much stopped, but I'm going to tip it forward just a bit to to get the rest of the oil out of the bottom of the case. Not too much, I'm only lifting it up about an inch in the back. Let's close this back up and we'll let the filter do its work. Just a note, all oil, once it is used, will darken up like this. The important part is that if it is clear. So this oil coming out of the filter, it was clear inside the pump, but it is still clear coming out of here. Keep in mind also that this process of filtering the oil is going to take probably several hours. So while we are waiting for the oil, I will show you how to check the filter inside the demister. It's easiest to get this top off while it's still screwed into the base. Basically, you have to squeeze it sideways and pull it up. There's these little notches on two of these fins. You'll come to this rubber flapper right here with a screw in the top. Just take that out and observe how your filter is. I'm going to take that rubber stopper off the top. And to unscrew this, you can use a penny, you can use a knife. Just stick it in the slot and turn it sideways. There's our filter and it looks really, really clean. So we are going to leave it alone. So you notice there's an O-ring here. You want to make sure that stays in place. Then there's another O-ring that's stuck here on the top. That one needs to seat in this groove right here. But if you can screw it back down with that seated properly, you're good to go. Now that our oil is done filtering, we can add it back to our pump. Remember, the fill is underneath the demister right here. If your oil has cooled off during the filtering process, which it probably has because it takes so long to filter it, then we might need to run our pump and then check the level again. But remember, never run it for more than 1 minute at a time and always with a decent amount of oil in it. So we're going to fill this up slowly, check our level, making sure we don't go over half, and then add if we need to. You may or may not need a little funnel to do this, but the spout on this filter pitcher is pretty good. We're going to wait a few seconds to see where our level ends up. That colder oil takes just a little bit longer to make it through all of the parts inside the pump and start to fill up in this window. We are adding just a touch more because you will have some losses from all the oil that gets stuck in the filter and all throughout the pitcher, the filter pitcher itself. And of course, if you spill any. So we're going to put the demister back on here, and you can run your pump for another minute, heat that oil up again, and then see where your level is and top off if you need to. Now we are just going to connect our pump back to our freeze dryer, including the vacuum hose and the connection of the power cord in back. Make sure that this pump is turned on because it will automatically kick on when the freeze dryer needs it. And you are good to go. Remember to always monitor the color and the clarity of your oil, because even though I got 30 cycles out of mine, yours could be a little bit different depending on how your Harvest Right freeze dryer runs. And if it starts turning really dark or getting really cloudy, then you should change it immediately. If you need any more oil or any filters for your filter pitcher, I have a link for those in the description below the video. Having one of these has been a blessing for our family, and we have saved a lot of our harvest out of our garden that would have already been freezer burnt if we hadn't freeze dried it. The initial investment in one of these is fairly heavy at the beginning, but the amount of money you save down the road in leftovers that you have saved, money you save on food, money you save on the produce in your garden, will overcome this initial cost pretty quickly. We talked about the cost of running this thing and the savings compared to buying freeze-dried food from somewhere else in the video linked at the top of the screen. And since we are standing in our solar equipment room, click on this video right here, which shows you how this thing runs on our medium-sized solar system. Have a beautiful, blessed day. We'll see you next time. Bye.